We have new data on how the rights war on trans and non-binary people is affecting, and in some cases, potentially even killing people, particularly kids. We have a new peer-reviewed scientific study examining the relationship between youth suicide rates and anti-trans legislation being passed in a number of states across America. We're gonna dive into the data and give you the stats, and it is just the darkest sort of stuff. But first, I wanna show you this map. Keep this in mind as we go on. This is attacks on gender affirming care by state, and you can see it happening across a lot of the country. We have 19 states during the 5 years studied that enacted 48 anti-transgender laws. And imagine 48 laws targeting any other demographic. Like, can you imagine? But it's what's happened. And so those encompass issues that range from limitations on gender affirming healthcare, restroom access, the ability of trans student athletes to compete on sports teams that align with their gender identity, and a number of other issues. And as we and many people predicted, it has an effect when your country goes to war with you for years. So suicide attempts increased among all participants whose home state had enacted at least one anti-transgender law, according to the study's findings, with participants aged 13 to 17 reporting the highest increase in suicide attempt rates, ranging from 7% to 72%. That's likely because most policies target minors. And not just the policies, bear in mind, the policies are the end result of a ton of attention and rhetoric and misinformation and conspiracy theories and lies and brigading and doxing and all of what's been going on in political media, and much of it focused on young people. Across the entire sample of more than 61,000 transgender and non-binary 13 to 24-year-olds, researchers observed an increase in suicide rates of 38 to 44%. And a reminder, as we talked about this before, it's not like the rates were insignificant before all this. If you take a look at this are the stats. This is the percentage of different groups that have considered or attempted suicide in the past year. And you can already see that transgender individuals, as well as non-binary individuals, have significantly higher rates of that. And they exist in a context where you can't turn to certain news outlets on a daily basis without hearing about how you're trying to destroy America and your rights over your own body need to be taken away. And then your state governments actually do it. And hell, maybe it'll happen at the federal level if the election doesn't go well this year. And so there's been a ton of these bills. Thankfully, many of them have not passed. And there are, in fact, some states that have actually gone out of their way to try to provide additional legal protections for these individuals. But this is, not super surprising. Michael, it's like when we cover they killed Roe v. Wade and what do you know? People are, going infertile because they didn't get the care they need. And some of them are literally dying. It's like, it sucks to see the obvious, easy predictions that were made coming true on a daily basis across so many different states.
Yeah, well, and that's what happens, unfortunately, and that's what election years bring as well, right? Is wedge issues. At different times, it's been race. At different times, it's been gay marriage. It's been they want to take your guns. It's been immigration, which it is this year, but transgender stuff and creating what is called a woke agenda. But the woke agenda wasn't created on the side of the people who are allegedly woke. It was created by the people on the other side who want to label, and they're very good at doing that. And so, a wedge issue is taking an issue and making it seem like it's a national invasion, right? That everybody is talking about that all the Democrats want to do is that, should they get into office, and it works in an election year. But in fact, if you look at those maps, there's also progress in the fact that this is being talked about. There's progress in the notion that the arc of these things coming to fruition and having success is a lot shorter than it used to be. And so while I look at this, and of course it gets you upset and it looks skewed and all of that, there are a couple of things with this issue specifically that make it a challenge politically, which is that a lot of Democrats and a lot of people that are on the side of protecting these rights don't view it as even a third or fourth or fifth or sixth or seventh place issue for them. Yeah, sure, they're okay with it, but they'd rather not talk about it, and they're not even sure that they're okay with it. A lot of them aren't, and so I think that's what makes this a trickier issue, but it's still maddening when you look at it through the scope that you just presented it.
Yeah. And just knowing, like, there are entire media personalities that have made this is their brand. They would have you believe that they cannot go 5 minutes without thinking about how trans people exist 750 miles away from them that they'll never meet, and that's ruining their lives. And
Right.
they convince other people who might not know, might never meet a trans person, to hate them, to be suspicious of them, to believe that they're ruining life. Again, it's just, there's just so much. It's economically pragmatic, I guess, for them. Malcolm Sazer talks about Matt Walsh. Yeah, Matt Walsh had never, as far as we can tell, talked about the issue more than 3 years ago, and then has decided, no, that's what my effect on the world will be to make it harder to exist if you happen to be trans. I will make your life a daily 24/7 living hell because I think I'm going to make a little bit of money and get some subscribers off of it.
Right.
And that's what's happened. And you see the rise in attempts, and we will never know, if we hadn't had these laws and this discourse, how many successful attempts wouldn't have happened. We don't know, but I would be willing to bet every single cent I've ever made or ever will make that the number's not zero. And that's the effect that these people have on the world. It's a weird choice to make for your career, but some people have made it and continue to make it. And they won't talk about this. They won't. I mean, if they see it at all, they'll probably be happy that they've had this effect.
No, this is a
But anyway,
victory.
people need to know.
It's a victory for them. They would view it as a victory.
Members make a difference here at TYT. You help make the show happen, and we see you in the chat with your loyalty badge. Click the join button to become a member today.